Hello everyone, this is the CrimsonCure, welcoming you to the Crimson Tower, a place where we keep a feminine foot on the neck of the gynocracy, feminism, and black male misandry. So go ahead, pull up a chair, stay a while, and listen.
We're A-Game, a 100% Black-owned company with an all-natural product and world-class customer service. We're headquartered in California, and we manufacture, package, and ship right here in the United States. We ship to more than 125 distributors worldwide. Normal processing is 2 to 3 days, and we employ virtual tracking until our product is received. So, no matter where you are in the world, here we come, and we're bringing your A-game.
Hey, how you doing, Crimsonites? How is everyone? Before I get started, can we go ahead and just make the likes match the views? We got 24 viewers already and just 13 likes. You guys who aren't content creators, who are just our supporters, who are our subscribers, who are our beloved constituents that we talk to, you'll never know how important it is to engage our videos and live streams by liking them. This is why we ask you to like them even before we're done with them or you reach the end, is because we would like for you guys to engage in the video. We can't engage physically. We can only engage digitally. And that little click that you do for the like button really, really, really helps support our channel just as much as a super chat or a cash app does. In some instances, it helps us more, because YouTube does look at engagement, and commenting, hitting the like button and things of that nature is engagement in YouTube's eyes. So this is why content creators will come right away and say, like the video, because we want to ensure some engagement with that video. Joe Average Brother, I'm breaking up with my side chick and you're smarter than she is anyway. Oh, what are you saying, that the position is open? Joe Average, I can slide into that position. Are you advertising the position? So thank you so much. My likes did go up. Thank you so much for that. Hey, C, we got Quentin, we got UFO, we got Sandra. How you doing, sis? We got Paul Pistachio. I love pistachios, but I realize on a keto diet, nuts are okay, but they can stall you with weight loss. They can stall you with that. Hey, Tyrone. And what kind of chick can't hold side chick position? That's supposed to be an easy position. Oh, remember I was talking about lipstick the other day? You guys, just cover your ears. This is for the ladies. This is the LA Girl. The matte, I don't know if you can read, the matte velvet. And this is what I have on right now. If you can tell, it's really red. This one is called Relentless, and it is much more pigmented than the e.l.f. one. This is Eyes, Lips, Face, which I like e.l.f., but still the LA Girl one is better. Costs a little more, but only just a little. They're relatively cheap. This one was no more than about $6. They used to be like $2 in beauty supply stores, and I noticed that beauty supply stores don't carry LA Girl anymore. You have to at least go to a department store, a Target or something, to get an LA Girl now, because now they're like $6, $6 or $7. Hey, Fit Feminine, how you doing, sis? So if any of you ladies like this shade, it's LA Girl. It's called Relentless. It should be in any like CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, Target, something like that. They sell LA Girl now. Since it's a little higher, I don't know what beauty supply store's problem is. Probably because they can't get it for pennies on the dollar. They don't want to sell it. But yeah, C says I was going crazy on cashews and cheese and that weight wouldn't budge. Yeah, the weight won't budge. You won't gain, but you won't lose. And what I realize is that your body is still in the process of burning fat. It's just burning the dietary fat. It's burning the fat of the cheese and the cashews and stuff like that. And the nuts have a lot of fat. It's good fat. It's actually really good fat. But you often consume more because it's hard to just consume 13 or 14 nuts and 12 nuts. Nobody's counting nuts, right? You're getting a handful and a gobble. You know what I'm saying? Who knows how many nuts was in that handful? You know what I'm saying? You don't know. Nobody knows. No one's even counting. No one's even trying to know. Thank you, C. I think I might have got your email, George. I get so many in a day. I'll have to go back and check. So, and then I'm addicted to cheese. Gouda cheese and goat cheese, I'm addicted to cheese. So it's very difficult for me to break that since it's not a carb. It's not a, you know what I'm saying? Like I justify it because it's not carbs, it's not sugar, it's not, or whatever. And it's like, but it's too high in fat. And especially if you're eating processed cheese. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really eat the like Kraft slices or nothing because that's not even cheese. But, even a higher grade cheese, you would have to really get like organic grass-fed cheese. And then even then, it's almost a pure source of fat. So it's a dairy fat. So it's difficult for me personally to work through the level of fat. I was watching Dr. Eric Berg, and a little tip that he gave, he was like, don't do low fat keto because you won't budge then either. And then he said something really key. He said, don't eat less than about 75 grams of fat every day. Don't eat less than that. That's about your minimum, 75 grams of dietary fat. And try to make sure it's good fat. Try to make sure it's non-dairy, preferably. So fats from MCT oil, fat from coconut oil, fat from avocados or eggs or something like that. So I was like, okay, that's a good little tip. And actually the scale moved today because I've been watching my fat intake. It's easy for me to get overwhelmed with that. Well, like my Islam dominant man. Okay, so we're going to get into it today. As you can see, feminism replaced women's values. And on my thumbnail, I have the old bait and switch because they sold women something. And then what they gave us, what we received was something less in value. So you've heard me say that feminism was an offshoot, or it was the child of white supremacy. Put a 1 in the chat if you have ever heard me say that. If you've ever heard me refer to feminism as an offshoot of white supremacy, put a 1 in the chat for me. Okay. So we understand how successful, for lack of a better word, slavery was, and the subsequent racism, and then the institutionalized racism was. We understand how successful, because we're actually, as a people, we are still living in the consequences of it, right? But I wonder if anyone realizes why it was so successful. And I'm not going to ask, I'm going to tell you why. The reason why racism and subsequently feminism, I'm going to get to feminism, the hold was so strong is because of a concept called bioculturon. Shout out to Father's Time, who developed the word bioculturon, that's his word. And who actually, what I would say, figured out the puzzle. Because we are aware of biology, culture, and environment as three separate things. Biology being the people themselves, culture meaning the laws, policies, things of that nature, and environment, which is like the institutions and all of that in the place where we live. And we're aware of those things as three separate entities, right? Everybody knows what those things are. However, when we blend them, it was the blending of those key three elements and then the subversion of them that made racism and slavery so successful. See, when we got here, three things needed to happen in order for the system of slavery and white supremacy to work. Okay, and to survive. And to be automatic. See, they needed to automate the system of slavery. I want everyone to pay attention. Can we get the likes up, please? 44 people, 29 likes. So if you didn't hit the like button on the way in, please go out and hit it now. And thank you so much. They needed slavery to be automated. Because you can't watch each and every individual and keep them in line. Thank you, Xavier said. Thanks, Grand Sister Kendra, for the knowledge. You're so very welcome. And not only are you welcome, it's my pleasure and it is my duty. So I thank you. No problem, Father's Time. More than earned the shout out. So they needed slavery to be automatic. They needed to automate slavery. There is only one way to do that. There's only one way that you can do that. You have to make sure that you don't have too much of a problem with what turned out to be excuse me, with what turned out to be ended up millions of slaves. Excuse me. I don't know what's with that. I think my allergies are starting to try to get up. I want everyone in the chat room to hazard a guess. If you need slavery to be automated, when I say automated, I mean we don't have enough manpower to watch every Black African that we've got over here to make sure that they don't cause problems and revolt and reject what we are doing to them. I want people in the chat room to hazard a guess. What you got to do? And there are no wrong answers. I just want people to start getting their minds around this. What are some ideas? What do you think you have to do to a group of people. We got some good ones already. Gotta cause them to regulate each other. You have to control their minds. Control their minds. I want everyone to keep that in mind. Likes, please. I got 33. There are 50 people watching. Make sure they teach each other enslaving techniques so you don't have to. That's a good one. I want people to keep that in mind. Divide and conquer. Make them police themselves. Okay? Okay. Eliminate the warrior class, clip the bull, and train the cow never to run. So what most of you are saying, Trigger Man said replace the culture. So we got two. We got biology. You guys are figuring it out already, right? So the biology is to change the thinking, to control the mind. You have to control the mind first. You got to get these people thinking a certain way. And then you got to change their culture. What's the other thing you got to change? Welfare, break up the family, feminism, bad environment, poverty, overseer. Unfortunately, put the women in control, neuter the men, submission, and create pawns among our group. So we got, Trigger Man say you got to change the culture. Prodigy just connected it to Willie Lynch, which is important. So change the culture, then you got to change the mind. So everybody said the mind first. You got to control, and then you got to change the culture. Ruminant said environment. So this is the basis and the foundation of bioculturon. You guys figured it out. The reason why slavery was so impactful and long lasting is you have to change the minds. These people can't be thinking that they have autonomy, that they have control over their destinies, that they have a sense of personhood, that they have a sense of, it's another word right on the tip of my tongue. You can't have these people thinking of themselves as people having sense of self. You can't have that. What you have to make them believe is that they are a what? In order to keep slavery going, you got to make the slave believe he's a what? Thank you, UFO. Sovereignty. That's what you can't have the people thinking. Can't have them thinking he's got sovereignty. He's got a right over himself. You can't think of that. You gotta make a slave believe he's a what? What you gotta make a slave. In order to keep a slave, what do you gotta make the slave believe that he is? An object, close, yes. Lesser being, inferior. You gotta make a slave, in order to keep a slave, you gotta make a slave believe he's a slave. You gotta make him believe it. Okay. So that was how slavery was so potent, right? They changed the biology, which is the thinking. So they changed the people, how they saw themselves. Then they changed the culture. The culture is the laws, the policies. And in slavery, even if a law wasn't on the books, the bylaws, the unspoken law, right, created the culture of white supremacy, because white supremacy came from slavery. So you have to create that superior, inferior paradigm. You've got to create it. Okay? You got to create that because it doesn't naturally exist. So you have to create the paradigm. So slavery was first, then white supremacy. White supremacy was developed to keep slavery intact. So the concept, white supremacy expressed itself through laws and policies. That was those were the practical means to keep slavery intact. And then you do what? You create an environment that perpetuates that culture and that thinking. So what do? You teach it. The environment was the institution of slavery. The physical place, you must live in an inferior way. You must live in shanties. You must have inferior clothing, tattered clothing, just enough to keep you somewhat modest. You have to eat inferior food. So bioculturon, don't think of it as a line. Think of it as a circle, ladies. I want the ladies to really think of it because I'm going to transfer this over to feminism. We're going to connect some dots. It's like a circle. Each thing feeds the other thing. So you got to change the thinking, which is biological. And then you have to change laws and policies, bylaws, unwritten laws, things of that nature. That's culture. And then you create the actual physical environment that supports what you've taught biologically, what you've done culturally. The environment must now support those things. So you have the physical environment of slavery. You've got the big house, which represents somewhere where you can't be. The clothing, the food goes back to biology, to change your biology. It keep you sick. It keep you with just enough energy to work, not enough energy to think clearly. Work you until you can't think. Because if they work men till they can't think, then the men can't think how to get out of it. So it was not one thing that changed for the African who became enslaved. It was three. And it was not changed necessarily one at a time. It was changed altogether. That switched the value system. It reset us as a people. We were disconnected from the biology, culture, and environment that we originally came from, and we got reset with a different value system brought about by different biological imposements or impositions on us, different cultural imposition, different environmental imposition. Are we keeping up so far? Put a 1 in the chat if you're keeping up. My subs are smart. I know y'all keeping up. My subs is super smart. I know my subs keeping up. Okay. So now we said earlier that feminism was the brainchild of white supremacy. I'm going to tell you how. In order to achieve the goals of feminism, especially black feminism, was to break completely the family structure, which in turn destroys us utterly, We're on the brink of that destruction with admixture and just being assimilated right in. No longer a separate ethnic group at all, with no separate culture, no separate value system, no separate environment, and no separate biological impositions, right? So that's the goal of feminism. How do you do that? How do you get black women to work against themselves? Well, the same way you got Africans to work against themselves through slavery. Because why wouldn't you have more uprisings even than what historically happened? Why would we stay in that position? Because when you change everything, you change everything. When you change biology, culture, and environment at the same time, you change everything. We got reset. So, because of that reset, black people were already compromised with values. We no longer valued ourselves. We had little to no or corrupted spiritual value, health value problematic, family value was okay because we did have family structure or a sense of structure. Immediately after the advent of legal slavery being over, then there was Reconstruction. We did have some semblance of family because we needed each other. We needed each other. I want you to keep that in mind. Ladies, I want you to start thinking about this. We needed each other. So we stuck with black men because we needed them for, what do we need black men for? During Reconstruction, what did black women need black men for? There's a key word. We stuck with them through thick and thin because we needed them for what? For what? There was something. To provide for, which translates to women as survival. We needed black men for survival. Okay? That's what we needed black men for. That's why we stuck with them. I want y'all to keep that in mind. Bear that in mind. We needed them for survival. Fast forward to the 60s. Maybe even before that, but the 60s is near enough past for people to have recollection of it. We have the advent of second wave feminism. The first wave happened in the late 1800s, even during the abolitionist movement. And we had some famous abolitionists. Sojourner Truth is one. Then we had Ida B. Wells, and we had a lot of prominent black women during that time period that were proponents of first wave feminism, disguised as women's suffrage. So how did feminism begin? The same way racism and white supremacy and slavery began. You have to change women's what? What's the first thing you got to change? We already went through it. What's the first thing you got to change? You want feminism to take hold. What's the first thing you got to do? To women, what do you change? You want feminism to set in? Thank you, Terenzo. You have to change their mind. Biology. You have to change their mind. How did you change their mind? You got to create a problem for women, an emergency situation that sparks her survival mechanism. You got to present her with what she perceives as an emergency and or a threat, which will spark a woman's survival mechanism. That threat was the patriarchy. The threat that you present, that they presented to women, first palm-colored women and then black women, was the threat and the danger, supposedly, of the patriarchy. Men were a danger to women. They were a danger to our survival. Rather than who was providing things to help us survive, the concept became more potent that men were the enemy who was doing everything in their power to subjugate and suppress women. This is why we keep saying that was a palm-colored woman's problem, because black women never had that problem with their men. The subjugation wasn't coming from their men. It was coming from palm-colored men. So the first thing you got to do is change a woman's biology. Get her to thinking that her man is her enemy and she will work against him almost on automatic, because it invokes a woman's survival mechanism. Feminism put that on steroids. Okay? Second wave feminism during the 60s, because it takes time to change the biology. But the system had already been proven to work under slavery. It worked. It already worked. They didn't have to try to figure that out. All they did was specialize it to women. All that happened, and the only difference between the success of the system of slavery and white supremacy and feminism is that one was targeted to the people as a whole and the other one was targeted specifically to women. And it takes time to change the thought and the biology of a collective group of women. It takes time. Because you gotta do that, or else the culture and environment won't work. It has to support one another. So the biology has to change. So you have to think differently. Don't view the man as a protector, a provider, or an ally. Think of him as a collective, nameless, faceless group called the patriarchy, and the patriarchy is an enemy to all women, because the patriarchy insists upon the subjugation and the suppression of women. Second part, culture. What do we say culture was? Laws, policies, bylaws, unwritten law. It's law. Because according to law, the law of a land, that will help dictate behavior. For example, if, and I'll use something real extreme, if you're gonna get the death penalty for running red lights, how many people would run red lights? Exactly. If you're feminine over 40, hit it on the head. 0. If it was a fact that you would get the death penalty anywhere in the United States for running a red light, no one would run the red light. An instant change in behavior due to the law conversely, if the law said you can run all the red lights you want and you'll never get pulled over or get a ticket, even if you get into an accident, how many people are running red lights? If they said we'll never give anybody a ticket, no, even if you get into an accident, everybody's running a red light. Whatever you think you can get away with it, that's when you're going to do it. So the laws dictate behaviors. Okay? So what's the law concerning feminism? How did it get supported? Through law. Well, family court law is one of them. The laws of the land concerning family, children, marriage, all support putting women above men. The laws are overwhelmingly in favor of women to the detriment of men and children. So that is a change of culture. Just change the laws. Behavior will follow. Biology was first. We changed the thinking. We get the women on board by making them believe that their men are their enemies. We bolster and support that notion by creating laws that imply that men are the enemy. If I am married to man A and we have children and then we get divorced, who are those children going to automatically? Who they going to? Mom. That implies what about the father? About the man in the situation? What does that imply? There's an implication made. There's an inference being made. What is it? He's inept to take care of his children. That's one of them. That's one implication. That's one insinuation. He's not fit. He's not needed. There's something wrong with his parentage inherently because he's a man. And there's something good about your parentage inherently because you're a woman. So the laws are there to bolster the biological switch that was made. The law says women are better than men. The law says that. It's implicit. It is not explicit, it's implicit. It is implied through how law is interpreted and enacted. Okay? Now, I know I'm kind of teaching, but y'all are with me. Y'all are with me. I'm glad that y'all are with me. I want to keep you with me. Thank you, Mogul Maze. Thank you, Martell. Oh, I'm sorry. I said your name. So I won't say your YouTube name so people won't know. But thank you for the Cash App. I apologize because I actually make it a point not to say people's names. So my apologies to you. So then next is the environment has to support the biology and the culture. Because we've said men are the enemy. Through law, we've said that women are better than men implicitly. Then we change the environment to match and support that. How? What do? Well, we change the educational system to support that narrative. We changed work environments, sexual harassment laws like overkill, Me Too movements. Being able to accuse men of any inappropriate act and say it was inappropriate, even if it was in retrospect. Bill Cosby, anyone? It became institutionalized. They institutionalized feminism. First, they changed the biology, then soon after the culture, which was laws and all of that, and then introduced it. The environment changed. Now everybody's being socialized into it, even boys. Socialized to believe that they are indeed inferior to women. Just like the African was socialized to believe that he was indeed a slave and inferior to a palm-colored person of any age or rank. We see it in television shows. Every television show or movie for the last couple of decades, especially the last 10 years, has been heavy with feminist tropes and narratives. The men are either monsters and brutes if they are masculine, or they must be part of the alphabet community in order to be considered good and right. Women are always right, no matter what. She's always the strongest. She's always the smartest. She's always morally correct. She always has the moral high ground. Always. No matter what. Just like palm-colored people always had the moral high ground no matter what they did. You were always wrong. They were always right. So we understand that feminism was never meant to be equality to men. It was meant to be a gynocracy, a rulership over men. And black women took that and ran. It is white supremacy, tailored to you, ladies. Because when you think about it, your average black woman doesn't think really any differently about black men as a redneck in the rural areas of Mississippi. Tell me I'm wrong. They both have the same idea about black men, don't they? What do we hear black women saying? Just in general, what do we hear black women say about black men? What do they say about them? What do black women say about black men? Ain't Crap Diaries and Conquer. There, I said it. Thank you so much. Feminist LGBTQ America perpetuates the gynocracy. Black women take pride in notions of future as female and are enemies to the success of black society. Exactly. Not human. They dusty. They're not good. Better off dead, bullet bags. We're inferior, dusty, apes. What would a racist, palm-colored man say about black men? What does he think about black men? Can't die quick enough, wild animals. Is that not white supremacy? Let's take the case of George Floyd, which the Derek Chauvin trial is ongoing. It's easy to assume that he had done something to deserve that death. And black people, women, and I'm focusing on women, were quick to dig up his past. We had Candace Owens that did it almost immediately after the man was killed to talk about his past indiscretions, run-ins with the law, things he might have been doing. They're accusing him of being on drugs, and then that's why he died. Because black men have no value in the eyes of white supremacy if he is no longer a slave. So therefore, he doesn't have any value. And he convinced black women to see black men the same way. He doesn't have any value if he is not serving you. Tell me I'm wrong. Because in the eyes of a feminist, black men are not valuable intrinsically. He does not have intrinsic, inherent value as a person. He only has value as a utility. So when the women call in and they say they want a high value man, they want a man that highly values serving them. They don't stop to think that he is high value because of him. That is the concept, kind of in a rudimentary way, of biocultural. See, this is how you change the value system of people. This is how you reset people. You must change. You must subvert the three main areas of a human being's life: their biology, the culture around them, and the environment they are in. And each of those things must support one another, or else the system does not work. They must come together. They must come together at the same time, roughly. It can't be too long. You can't change one and not the other two and think that you're going to change the condition. This is why we can't switch it back. This is why we can't switch it back as a people. And this is why the hold of feminism is so strong with us ladies, because we haven't figured out you gotta switch three, not one. It's not just the school system. That's just environment. It's not just change the laws of surrounding marriage. That's just culture. It's not. See, we gotta start with the biology like they did. Gotta start there. Because you can change all of the laws if you want. That'll dictate behavior, but it won't change the attitude. Okay? If you just change the laws, which become a change in culture, you'll change behavior. So like, for instance, if you say, the law says we're not going to provide any WIC or Section 8 or EBT if you have children out of wedlock. If the laws change, you'll see a significant drop in single motherhood because the behavior will change because the law changed. But the attitude that gives birth to the phenomenon of single motherhood won't change until you address biology and environment. You have to address the three, not one or the other. The system of slavery and white supremacy didn't last as long as it did because they were short-sighted and only changed one. Because if you only change the biology, that only works for the generation you talking to, for the group you talking to. That's no guarantee that they're going to perpetuate that thought. The next upcoming generation probably not going to think you have to do it again. No, so you don't want to do it again. You want to make them do it. You want to automate the system. Feminism has been automated. The women will do it now on their own. They don't need any external force. It's on autopilot. So if we want to get out of the bondage of feminism, just like getting out of the bondage of white supremacy, institutionalized and other, you have to attack the three. Biology is first, then culture, then environment in quick succession. Black women have been wired to see black men as the enemy in every situation. So her asking you to build is a gaslight. And I'm going to leave you with why that's a gaslight. And Father Time said that $10 billion will change education and work for black women, which is the change of environment, but not biology or culture. They gave them the money because they don't want the white supremacist environment to change. Exactly. And I'm going to leave y'all with this. Because black women are wired to see black men as the enemy in every situation. He's the antagonist in every situation. Asking black men to build is a gaslight. And here's why. Because if black women have been programmed to see black men as the enemy, and black men go out and build a new culture and a new environment, she can't follow him because he can't change her biology. She's going to have to continue to support the current culture and environment. She don't trust the one building the new culture and environment. You're the enemy. Why would she go from an ally, which has been Zaddy, to an enemy, which is you? I need y'all to think on that. And I want to continue this conversation in the comment section. We're going to have this conversation again at some point. And I want to hear everybody sound off. I want to hear everybody's thoughts on this. Very important. Very important for me. This show has been brought to you by A-Game, a male herbal solution, all natural. No fillers, no caffeine, no sugars, no crazy stuff, nothing to make you crash, nothing to make you feel bad. This is an awesome solution for men's health. So how you get this is you go into the description box right now and you click the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com, and you get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10 at checkout. And that's KENDRA, the number 10 at checkout. I want to thank everyone for coming here with me, chatting with me, everyone who supported, everyone who hit the like button. And I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, Crimsonites. Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another CrimsonCure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.